Welcome back, everyone. This is Ready or Not
Money Talks. I'm Nate the Great.
I'm Chris Stacks, and we are excited to be talking to you today about coaches and mentors.
Mm-hmm.
So, Nate, let me ask you, as far as coaches and mentors, when you got started in PHP, were you just thinking that you were coming in to make money?
Honestly, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So I've mentioned to you, I kind of stumbled upon the opportunity. I knew you worked somewhere, and I was like, you know what? I like where your head is at, where you were looking to do, what you were looking to do, excuse me. So I reached out to you, and you introduced this opportunity to me. And it has become more than I could have imagined when I got started. So definitely, you said mentorship program, leadership, everything in order to grow, not just in business, but in life.
I'm very glad to hear you say that. But let me ask you, because a lot of people at home, they're like, listen, I work at a job, I've got a family, this, that, and the other. Why do I need a coach or a mentor?
I mean, that really depends on you. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? So some people are content just being where they are, and then they'll stay there, until either something happens to change their mind or they retire.
Very true. I just had that exact conversation with a woman because she said, I've had opportunities, but I feel like I'm comfortable where I am. And I said, well, let me ask you, are your finances where you want them to be? Can you take care of yourself? Can you take care of your family? Can you live the life you want to? Well, no, not really.
So how comfortable are you?
Do you get home every day and you're excited about the day you had? You're excited to the house you get to walk into, the car you drive, the food you're eating? No, not really. So are you comfortable or are you afraid of failure?
Mm-hmm.
And from my experience, that's also where a coach and a mentor really come in, because they're going to push you out of that comfort zone.
Oh, absolutely.
It's that extra nudge. And look at, has anybody listening? Have you listened or watching? Pardon me. Have you played sports? I know you played sports as a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you played sports, you played football. I believe you played a couple other things.
Some basketball, football, yeah.
Did you have a coach?
Oh, of course.
Did you have somebody there telling you when you were wrong or telling you how to do it better or giving you guidance?
Always.
So do you think that LeBron still has trainers or mentors? Do you think Michael Jordan had trainers and coaches and mentors?
Absolutely. I mean, we both love Tim Grover.
Tim Grover, yeah. Tim Grover worked with many individuals, and this is not a plug, by the way, such as Michael Jordan, such as Kobe Bryant, such as Tiger Woods, and many, many others. But when you break down somebody like that, well, why is somebody that like a Michael Jordan working with somebody that's not only a personal trainer, but a coach and a mentor? And then you hear all the time, the billionaire man, LeBron James, having not only trainers and people in basketball, but financial coaches, business coaches.
So he's got a team around him.
Exactly. But for you and I, especially depending on where you grow up, the background you come from, we'll say, you're not thinking like that because you're like, oh, well, my goal is I'm hoping I get a 3% raise. And is that really, when inflation's where it is that the mindset?
It's not even keeping up.
Is that the mindset we should be having?
Absolutely not.
So when it comes to what I'm looking for, or how am I going to find a mentor and a coach, what would you say is really the number one thing that you would say, okay, you want to find a mentor, you want to find a coach, what would you say is the most important, like the number one thing that people should look for?
I think you should find someone, you know what, it's two things. One, they have to have been successful in what it is you're looking to get mentored in.
Makes sense.
But the reason why I said two things is because you need to be able to connect with that person as well.
Okay.
So I'm kind of combining two. You have to have the chemistry, because they may be successful, but maybe they're not going to reach out to you. They're not going to connect with you, and you're never going to take their advice if you don't see eye to eye.
So it comes to the fact of, I really have to be able to look at you and say, okay, I can take your criticism, I can take your feedback, and be able to internalize it and then move forward with it.
Absolutely.
Versus, oh, you've worked with LeBron, or you worked with this, or you've worked with that. Does that actually work for me? Does that coaching style work for me? Because if it doesn't, am I going to really listen to you? There's a lot of things that we're told by our parents or by other people around us, but because the way they say it, we don't necessarily internalize it, take it in, and go do it, right?
Right.
So I 100% agree. You want to make sure you have, I always call it a chemistry session. There's people that I've looked at bringing onto the firm. I was like, listen, I apologize, but this isn't going to work. This is not a fit. There might be another place for you, but this isn't the one, because I do act as a coach and mentor in the business. And if the chemistry is not there, I don't want to drag myself down all day.
Right.
I expect the coach and the mentor to tell me the constructive criticism that I need to hear. And sometimes the stuff you really don't want to hear.
Yep.
But at the same time, if every time I hear you saying it, it feels like nails on a chalkboard, am I going to ever act on it?
Probably not.
So that's some great advice on both parts.
Mhm.
Where do you want to go? What is your goal? If they haven't done it, are they really going to be able to give you the advice?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's a great way to put it, to be honest with you. And I mean, even when I coached in fitness, although I was supposed to be helping people prep for competitions or get their body ready for, for college, things of that nature, I still did a lot of psychology with it.
Of course.
Because to overcome, challenges in the gym, to change your diet, all those different things, a lot of it's here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the biggest parts that people forget about. And, so let me ask you, if you're looking for a coach, if you're looking for a mentor, what would you say is one of the easiest ways to go find one?
Well, something you could do is ask other people in the field who they're working with. Potentially they might have a referral for you, recommendations, someone that's coaching them, or that they might look to as a coach that you can go on with as well.
So that makes sense. So I shouldn't just go to like Amazon and scroll for reviews and try and see what people have been rated on.
I don't know if Amazon covers that yet, but you never know. They're buying everything.
They got everything else. So you never know. But I'm saying in general, like I went to your website, you've got 50 reviews from people saying how great you are and amazing you are, and you're like the Messiah. Is that just how I should look at it?
I mean, that's one way you can, but if they're not people that know what you're looking for or what you're already capable of, can they give you the best advice, the best recommendation on someone?
I agree with that. People say, "Oh, well, that movie, don't watch that movie. It wasn't good." But what if my taste is different than yours?
Mm-hmm.
What if my vision of what a good movie is different than yours?
Absolutely.
Right? So it's kind of the same thing. And I mean, with that, obviously you want to know they've got a track record.
Right.
You want to know that they've been able to do it in
Successful.
your field.
Yep, absolutely.
But similar to what you were just saying, if they don't fit that person, get a recommendation, find somebody. I've already got 3 amazing coaches,
Mm-hmm.
Or I should say mentors. I work with Jonathan Mason, I work with Matt Zapala, and then I'm lucky enough to be around PBD, Patrick Bet-David.
Right.
And even
And didn't you hire a new mentor?
Even on top of that, I went out and hired another coach, another mentor, because they're coaching me in PHP, they're coaching me in
on
the
system
business,
that we're
the
working
systems,
with. Yep.
which has allowed my wife and I to accomplish great things in the business. But I want to take it that one step further. So when I went out and hired another individual that is a business coach, that is a
Life coach.
a life coach really, and it's so funny because you've heard Tom Bilyeu, you've heard Patrick Bet-David, you've heard so many individuals talk about it's not necessarily the path you're going on, it's what from the past is anchoring you,
Mm-hmm.
that's slowing you down from getting to your goal. So if you're making 50,000 a year and you want to make 100, is that thing slowing you down? The fact that you don't know how to get there, like you don't know what you're doing, or is it something behind you is actually pulling you back? And that's one of the reasons I hired the gentleman that I did. I'm sure I'll be mentioning his name soon enough, but I just hired him. So I'm sure the reason I hired him is because when I first spoke to him, he was like, "Okay, so what's in your past?" I said, "What?" So you've got to have somebody that's going to be willing to get through to you, be willing to learn about you.
Now, at the same time, in that respect, because I didn't think about this until you just said that, you have to be able to open up to the mentor so they can help you.
Absolutely.
Because they don't know what's ailing you, what's holding you back, how they're supposed to change anything better for the future.
Absolutely. One of the guys in our office, he always talks about, what does he say? He always says you got to be not open. He says you're vulnerable. He always talks about vulnerability.
Okay, yes.
And especially for men, I was raised by someone in the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
Are we taught to be vulnerable as men? I mean, nowadays it's much more common, but especially in the 80s and early 90s, was it really normal to be vulnerable?
No.
So that's a whole new thing to be willing to open up to, willing to push yourself. But I think you hit the nail on the head. You've got to make sure you find a recommendation, you find somebody that fits, but you've got to make sure they fit you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one thing if I've got the skills, the talents, etc., the other thing. But if we don't work together, it's never going to help me evolve.
Right.
It's never going to help me get to my next spot.
And it's nothing bad about either side. It's just a.
I mean, just because you meet, I got very lucky. I met my wife, we're a great fit. Funny how many people told me that we were going to get married, but it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But how many people in your life do you meet just as far as friends, relationship, etc., that hey, you seem great, but we're not compatible to be together forever.
Right.
If you're going to have a coach or mentor, it is somebody you're going to at least spend an hour, a couple hours a week with on a regular basis. So if you're trying to get to your next level, do look at the costs. It's obviously got to fit the budget. You also have to look at it from an aspect of what is the return going to be.
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely. 100%.
How often do we talk about in investments in business ROI?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm spending thousands of dollars on this person, but it's going to allow me to 2x my income,
Right.
what's that ROI?
Oh, insane.
It's insane, right? And obviously a book can help, a video can help, but one-on-one's a whole nother level. You want to look at the amount of time that they're going to give you, how long are they going to actually work with you for, and then you talked about earlier their level of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So do they have an understanding of the field you're in?
And also, have they helped other people in the field you're in?
True. The gentleman that I hired, I'm very lucky because he's already helped a lot of people. I'll just say a lot of people make 7 figures in the financial world.
Right.
Well, hello. That's a great person to have in your corner. So I would say you've got to ask yourself, do I really want to level up?
Mm-hmm.
If you do, why don't you have a coach? Why don't you have a mentor? Why don't you have somebody that's helping you do that? Because we often stop, high school, maybe college, and after that, we don't think about it. We don't focus on it.
Even the jobs we get, we learn the job that we're going to do, and that's pretty much it. We don't even try to extend past that. For the most part, I'm not saying everyone. There's obviously people that are eager and they want to grow every job they go in, but they have to want that, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. So I highly recommend, at the very least, if you're not where you want to be, if you want to get to another level, go find a good book. Is there any? We mentioned some great books last time. Is there a book that comes to your mind? Because we've read a lot of books in the last 2 years. Is there a book that comes to mind that somebody could go read that's going to help them open their mind to having a coach, to having a mentor, or why they should do it? There's one comes to mind for me, and you already said his name.
Oh, Tim Grover. Oh, absolutely. Relentless, Winning, 2 awesome books.
Phenomenal books.
Like you said, not a plug.
Not a plug. Love him, been at our event, but not a plug at all. Just his book's amazing.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to step out past that ledge, another one, which actually, funny enough, a woman yesterday mentioned it to me, didn't even realize that it's somebody we work with. So 25 Laws to Doing the Impossible by Patrick Bet-David.
Yep.
Because when you have somebody that's allowing you or giving you the mindset, oh, I can do this. I can get to that next level. Because isn't that what your coaches did when you were kids playing baseball? Get up there. You're going to hit the ball. You're going to kick it in the goal, like whatever it was. Because you also have to have that other side of rooting for you. You have to have that side of giving you that extra energy. Because let's be real. How much does life beat us down?
Oh, every day. But now, and then touching on that, something I forgot to mention earlier. When you're looking for a mentor, if you want to grow, you have to make sure that you become coachable.
Absolutely. So I agree 100%. But for the folks watching at home, when you say become coachable, can you break that down for me a little bit?
So one, you have to be willing to realize that you don't know everything.
So humble.
Humble. Yeah. Humility.
Was it Kendrick Lamar? I won't say the line because we're on here, but Kendrick Lamar.
And then I would say criticism. So
I agree with that 100% because that was even something, and people ask me all the time, what would you say is one of the turning points with you being in the business, with you going from, not making a lot of money, more so being a bartender, making it because of my energy and, my pizzazz behind the bar, to being in business and being able to make money and be able to grow in a system-based business.
Mm-hmm.
And that was being able to take my ego, set it aside, realizing that it was bigger than my bank account, and accept the coaching.
Absolutely. So, like you said, so you take the criticism, then you have to internalize it and send it back out
in the form of results.
In the form of results, exactly.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and that's an amazing point actually. I think that's where we got to end the show for you guys today, because that is huge. If you can be humble, and I think that's really probably one of the biggest things that holds people back from getting a coach, getting a mentor, is I'm already good enough. I can do it on my own. I'm gonna. Why? What?
Because then you're going into territory where you're not confident, you're arrogant.
True.
So there's just two different things. Confident means I can do this. Like I know I can. Arrogance means I'm better than anyone else doing it.
True.
And most of the times you're not. At the same time, you never want to feel that way because then you're never going to grow.
Yeah. I mean, we've been around. We've seen PBD. We've seen Matt. We've been around Mr. Mason. And when you're around those people, they're all. Well, I mean, we won't even go into PBD's net worth, but they're making over 7 figures a year.
Right.
And yet they're still asking for coaching. They're still being trained. They're still being developed.
Even the other people we've met through them at different events who are worth a lot as well, and they're probably the most humble people I've seen.
Yeah. We had a gentleman on our last event here, just happened to help start LA Fitness. You guys might have heard of it before.
Mm-hmm.
But how open to giving feedback, to helping you grow is he?
Oh, 100%. I wouldn't even have known if I wasn't told. Like, he was just like, listening to him is like eye-opening.
So I think if you guys are willing to take this information, if you're willing to internalize it, as Nate just said, and be humble, you might realize that you need a coach, you need a mentor in your corner. That's what's going to help you. That's going to be the game changer to help you go from, okay, I'm paycheck to paycheck. Maybe I'm just over. I've got a few bucks in the bank, but I'm still not where I want to be. I'm in the job that I've been in. My business hasn't gotten to the level I wanted to get to. So you need to find a place that's going to allow you to level up, maybe become a better leader, and more importantly, as I mentioned in the beginning, show you what behind you is slowing you down. What anchor, what parachute, what's behind you and what's
weighing
pulling.
You down.
Yep. And the minute you find that, and believe me, this is coming from somebody that had to take a hard look in the mirror, that had to, think back to childhood, think back to many things, which is why I just, brought in another coach.
Yep.
Because I want to see that next level. I want to be able to go out and do more for the community. I want to do more for my family, but I have to personally level up before I'm ever going to do it. And there's plenty of people that'll say, "Oh, I'm just going to do this and that, and I'm going to be the provider." Have you done it yet? Do you have somebody that's shown you how to do it? That's a coach and a mentor.
Yeah, because you're not going to learn everything on your own. I mean, maybe eventually, but it's going to cut the curve.
Right. That's all right. Shoot. Last thing we're going to say is adding a coach, adding a mentor, someone that's going to challenge you, push you, kind of tell you what you
hold
don't
you accountable.
know. Hold you accountable. Oh my goodness, we could do a whole video on accountability. But hold you accountable. It's going to cut that learning curve. If I can go read books, watch videos, attend seminars, and it takes me 5 years to learn that information, honestly, with a good coach and mentor, I think you can learn it in a year.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's why most people, they grow their income 2 times in a lifetime. So whatever they start at, they might go from starting, maybe they're 4 to 5 times max in a lifetime, 35 years, 40 years.
Only because they started off at minimum wage.
Right. And I'm saying starting off at $30,000 a year. You might get lucky, let's say 3 times, you might get lucky enough to hit 6 figures right before you retire. How many people do we hear about doing that?
Oh, yeah.
If you're lucky. But you've got a lot of people that start off at 30 and they end at 55. You're 55,000, not 55 years old.
I mean, average household income is like what, 63, I think?
62 right now.
62.
Yeah. So if you start at minimum wage, that means the average household income is literally minimum wage for 2 people.
Yeah.
It's $15 an hour. So if you don't make it to 100,000 combined, what did you increase?
And what kind of lifestyle are you living?
And yeah, what kind of lifestyle are you living? You each increase 20%? You increase 40% combined. But what does that really equate to with inflation, with everything going on? So if you want to go instead of from 50,000 to 100,000 in 35 years, what if you could go from 50,000 to 100,000 in 2 years?
Right.
What is that worth? And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up. But I got to pay for a mentor. I got to pay for leadership or coaching. Yeah, everything we do in life has a dollar associated with it, right?
But yeah, I think that might be the line to end on. What is it worth?
What is it worth? Coaching, mentorship. I'm Chris Stacks.
I'm Nate the Great.
What is it worth to you to achieve your goals?